Aleichem Malachei Asharet Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Boachem L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Barchuni L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Seidchem L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I didn't know what kind of mood I was in driving over here. I was like, what kind of mood am I in? I put on my best white shirt, even though my official, what do I call Phyllis? What do I call her? My wardrobe consultant says that white gets washed away. It's Shabbat. I gotta wear it. And I'm thinking about that story I told you last week with my friend David, how the clergy 50 years ago, used to wear tuxedos under their gowns on Friday night. I didn't know what kind of mood I was in, and then I figured I would step up and see what kind of Shabbat Shalom Aleichem came out, and I guess it's just Shalom Aleichem. There's a little before and after for you, Shabbat Shalom Aleichem. And I guess we're in a bit of a playful mood. Nothing wrong with that. I saw the first message from Sarah B., one of our out-of-town friends. Ready to rock out Winnipeg style. Well, I don't want to say that this is necessarily Winnipeg style, but it's certainly our style. And it's great to have you along for Kabbalat with Keys. I've been listening to a lot of Elton John this week. A lot of Elton John. I watched an incredible documentary on the making of the album Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. One night when I should have been helping Heather with Felix, but instead I pretended I had work to do, and so there might be a lot of Elton John that might come out over the course of tonight, which is just adding to our Kabbalat with Keys. What would Kabbalat Shabbat sound like if Elton John? And I was always saying, Elton John suffers from the same affliction as me, the little fingers, the little hands. It's great to have you along, everyone. As it says in front of the candles there, I'm Rabbi Matthew Leibl. This is Kabbalat Shabbat live from Congregation Shered Zedek in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, where it is just past 5:35 local time. The sun will be setting a few hours from now, but every Friday at 5:30 we do our Kabbalat Shabbat and Mariv for Shabbat service, roughly 1 hour service. And it's great to have you along. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making our virtual congregation this evening. Thank you for inviting me into wherever you are, your homes, your cottages, your offices, your cars. Be safe if you're driving. Don't get distracted by the power of Kabbalat Shabbat. Seriously, that's a real thing. Thank you. So great to be here. If you'd like to follow along, and who wouldn't, we have a Siddur available on our website. The website is www.szwinnipeg.ca. There is a link for the prayer books and Siddurim. Click on the one for Friday night. Friday night. It is known as the Siddur Chadash for Shabbat and festivals. And in lieu of Mincha, we begin on page 174 with a psalm, and then the mourner's Kaddish for Friday, for the Yortzites for Friday, before we dive into Kabbalat Shabbat, and then Ma'ariv, the evening service, the start of Shabbat. So, Whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or the website, of course, Facebook and YouTube, you can chat. I see there are a number of messages. We'll get to those. A few people trickling in as the service is beginning. It's great to have everyone here. Thank you so much for being here. And let's, as Sarah B. says, rock out Winnipeg style. We begin on page 174. Mizmor shir Chanukah bayit leDavid Amrim Chadonai ki di litani v'lo simachta oivai li. Ayodcha farai gidu amitecha leman yizamercha chava v'lo yidom Adonai Elohai leolam odeka. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 176. Friday on the Hebrew calendar is the 8th day of Tammuz. And on the 8th of Tammuz, we commemorate the following yahrzeits at Congregation Shered Zedek. Dr. Max Bach, Mitka ben Tzvi David. Ruth Bronstein, Rivka Rachel bat Aharon HaKohen. David Brotmacher. David ben Yeshaya, Jeremy Brotmacher, Yirmiyahu ben David, Harry Diamond, Tzvi Hersh ben Avraham, Shia Sam Feldman, Shia ben Shmuel Zeivel, Harry Cates, Herschel ben Gedalia Vechova, Marjorie Levine, Basia bat Yisrael Valea, Maxwell Nelko, Mordechai Tzvi ben Shalom Vachasi, Vera Schachman, Rivka bat Levi, Mendel Sternfeld, Menachem Mendel ben David Vehinda, and Murray Tapper, Mayor Hersh ben Eliezer, Zichronam Livracha, all of blessed memory. If there's anyone with a yahrzeit for the 8th of Tammuz, whose name we have not called out, please type it in the chat. I also want to recognize a message from my pal, Kenny Boyce, as we add the names of Charles Boyce and Stanley Boyce for Kaddish. Also from One More Candle, the organization that helps us remember the 1.5 million children who perished in the Holocaust. Francois Chmelnicki of blessed memory. The way it works with One More Candle is every day, twice a day during our minyanim, we call the name of a child who passed in the Shoah. And today we remember Francois Chmelnicki of blessed memory. Also, we remember Betty Gilfix, Pesia Bat Moshe, who passed away this week in our community. May her memory be a blessing. Mourners and those observing a yahrzeit for the 8th of Tammuz, you're invited to rise. Join with me on page 176 for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei. V'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. V'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal. Shemei dekud b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated. Let's get comfortable together. We're on page 22 where Kabbalat Shabbat begins. All right, seeing a few messages. I'll try and read those. I was telling you, I've been listening to a lot of Elton John lately. Thinking about how Elton would do Kabbalat Shabbat. So much of his music's in major, though. We'll see how it goes. Page 22 is where we go and where we begin with Lechu Neranana, setting the mood right away. Come, let's rejoice to God. We got the keys. We got our voices. We got the chat. We got the candles. We are ready to go. Page 22, Kabbalat Shabbat. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, ladonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, ladonai. Naria, naria, letzuri shenu, nekad mafana betoda. Naria, naria, letzuri shenu, bizmirot naria lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, ladonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, ladonai. Continuing silently, page 22. Ki el gadol Adonai umelech gadol kol Elohim asher yado mechakrei haaretz. Say hello to a few people quickly. David Wilder, always one of the first ones in. Great to have you, David. Sandy, and I assume Marvin there too. Great to have you. Sharon, Shabbat Shalom. Susan, Shabbat Shalom. And Kenny, caught you there. Judge RLP, get Shabbos to you as well. Bottom of the page, 3 lines from the bottom. Arba'im shana kud bedor v'omar am to'e levavhem ve'im lo yadu derachai asher nishpati ve'api im yevo'un el menuchati. Page 24. Shiru l'Adonai, shiru shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shiru shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, baruchu shemo, basru miyom liyom yeshuato. Shiru l'Adonai, baruchu shemo, basru miyom liyom yeshuato. On page 24, continuing silently. Sapru vagoyim kvoro v'cholamim niflotav. Saying Shabbat Shalom to Eugene Gusikovsky. Erev Tov to you, Eugene. It's nice to see you. Judy, here all the time, every week. Love it. Thank you so much. So many of you appreciate it. Jerome, Shabbat Shalom to you, sir. Andrea, Shabbat Shalom to you. And Shalom to Rottweiler boy. Yuda with a little bit of Hebrew. Erev Tov v'Shabbat Shalom Rabbi Mordechai v'lechulam. Gam lecha Yehuda. Tov lirot otcha. Lirot. And Kenny, yes, got the message. The Stearns. The Stern gang. RML says Shabbat Shalom. Great to have you. Thank you so much. To the Shared Zedek family as well. I love that. And to Louis and Deb, and maybe Max and Sawyer are hanging around in the background. Judy, it's so nice to see you. Judy, I still owe a call. Still owe a phone call, Judy, and we will get that, don't worry. And we will make a Misha Berach, of course. And John, son of David, in Lloydminster. Saskatchewan side or Alberta side? 4 lines from the bottom, page 24. Don't forget your part. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam umelo. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam umelo. Yalo sadai sadai, Yalo sadai sadai, Yalo sadai, v'chol asher bo. Haziranenu, 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 kol atzeiar. Haziranenu, Haziranenu, Az Yiranenu Kol Atzei Ar Livnei Adonai Kiva Kiva Lishmor Aretz Yishbot Tevel B'tzedek Ve'amim Be'emunato. Page 26. Adonai Malach Tagel Haaretz Yismechuim Rabim. It'll look better. Alberta's side. My Zeta, Alva Shalom, he spent a lot of time in Flin Flon when he was a ute in summers in university working in the mines. And Flin Flon's right on the border of Manitoba and Saskatchewan, and he used to love telling the stories about how when guys got hurt in the mines, and there was the marking in the mines, I've never been, I took his word for it, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and when anyone got hurt in the mine, they used to pick him up and carry him over to the Saskatchewan side because the workers' compensation payout was a higher percentage in the Saskatchewan side, and he was always a little bit puzzled as to how they never figured out how no one ever got hurt in Manitoba, but everyone always got hurt in Saskatchewan. Hope you're safe in Lloydminster. Hope it goes well. Thanks for being here, John, son of David, and everybody else along the way. People still filtering in. It's great to see you. Shelly Chachanov, Shabbat Shalom. Not often on the chat. Must be a special occasion, Shelly. I like it. And Allison, I assume and hope Bill is there too. It is a beautiful day here in Winnipeg. We're working our way through page 26. Ki Adonai Elyon al kol haaretz. Or zaru al tzaddik uleishrei lev simcha simchu tzaddikim baronai ve'odu lezecher kodsho. Page 28. Mizmor shir l'Adonai shir chadash Yiniflaot asav shilamino yozro kodsho. Zamru l'Adonai bechinor v'kol zimra. Lifnei Adonai kiva lishbor haaretz yishbot tevel b'tzedek ve'amim b'mei sharim. Page 30. Adonai malach yirgezu amin. Bottom of page 30. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romimu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romimu. Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. All right, let's get on up on page 34. Page 34, the last psalm before Lecha Dodi. Mizmor LeDavid. Oh, this one's in D major. This is the one where I could have done the honky cat. That's not... Anyway, that's in D. Avul Adonai b'nei Elim, Avul Adonai kavod va'oz, Avul Adonai kevod shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai behadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai amayim, Adonai amayim, amayim, amayim rabim, amayim, amayim, amayim rabim. Kol Adonai bakoach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arzei halvanon, Vayarkidem kemo egel Levanon, Vesiryon kemo ben reimim, kemo ben reimim. Kol Adonai chotzev lahavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, Vayechesov ye'arot, Uvehechalo kulo merkavod, kulo merkavod, kulo merkavod. Kol Adonai, Adonai lamabu yashav, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom, et amo, et amo, et amo v'shalom. I saw one of those RML in a zone. Yeah. He's losing it. Yuda is dancing. I think that's Ani Balir Kod. That's what Yuda said. Hey, you can dance wherever you are. My man Bill Wiseman, our shamus, our lay clergy, always used to say for Lecha Dodi, he used to invite people to get up and dance. Especially when we started off with the waltz one. And that's where we are now, page 38. Page 38. A little Lecha Dodi. Likrat kala penei Shabbat Kabbalat lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat Kabbalat Shamor v'zachor beribor echad Hishmiyanu el hamilchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem tiferet ve'litila Likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor haberacha merashmi kedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machashava techila lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela mikdash melech ir melucha kumitzei mitoch hafecha rav lach shevet be'emek habacha vehu yachamo alayich emla lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela Nari me'afar kumi leave she bigdei tifartecha mi al yad ben yishai beit alachmi karvayel nafshi ge'ala lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Page 40. Hitoreri kiva orech kumi ori shir daberi kivod Adonai alayich nigla lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lo tevoshi velo tikami matishtochachi umatehemi bachechesu aniyei ami venivneta ir al tila lecha dodi lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Vayulim shisa shosaich merachakuk omevalayich yasis alayich Elohayich kimsos chatana kala lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Yaminu smol tifrotzi vehet Adonai taritzi al yadish ben partzi venismecha venagila lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. All right, last stanza. invite you to rise wherever you are and to face the door in anticipation of the Shabbat bride bursting through that door in just a moment, greeted by us with a bow and the words, Boi chala, come in, bride, come in. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzahala, toch emunei, am skula, boi chala, lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabala, lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabala, la lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabala, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Please be seated. Lecha dodi, the crown jewel of the Kabbalat Shabbat service is our Rabbi Emeritus. Rabbi Green used to say, B.E. before he was emeritus. All right. A couple more stops in Kabbalat Shabbat. The makers of the service knew that after a high moment like Lecha dodi, you needed to kind of bring it down. A denouement, I believe, is the fancy term they call the conclusion, like the following action and then the conclusion in literature. And that's really what is at play here in the service. Two Psalms back to back, Psalms 92 and 93. The first is Psalm for Shabbat, that's on page 42, and it has the beautiful Lewandowski version of Tzadik Katamar at the end, and then one more that I don't do very often, but I'm running out of time to do all the ones that I do from time to time, a beautiful musical setting for Psalm 93, and that will bring us to the end of Kabbalat Shabbat here. So let's go to page 42 now. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat. Tov lehodot l'Adonai u'zamer l'shimcha elyon. Oh, it's a different key. So keeping with my Elton John theme, how would Elton John do Kabbalat Shabbat? Katamar Yifrach Kerez Bavanon Iskei Shtuli Beveit Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Od yenuvun b'seva D'shenim v'rananim yiyu lehagi Ki yashar Adonai Tzuri V'lo avlatabo. And on page 93, let's conclude. Adonai Malach Geut Lavesh is how this psalm opens. O God, O Lord, you are sovereign, robed in majesty. And then it's probably the final words of the psalm that are meant to kind of linger, and this is often just kind of a nusach and almost like a throwaway, because we've had Lecha Dodi and Mizmor LaDavid and then the last one. But it's worth doing something special. Those last lines. The mighty breakers of the sea declare God rules supreme. Your testimonies are ever dependable. Creation attests to your holiness. You are the eternal Lord. And L'orech Yamim is often translated as like for all time, or the end of days, or the length of days. Adonai malach lavesh Adonai oz hitazar aftikon tevel baltimore nachon kisacha meaz me'olam atah nasu ne'arot Adonai nasu ne'arot kolam isu ne'arot toch yam mikolor ma'im rabim adirim mishperei am adir bamarom Adonai edotecha nemnu meor levecha navakodesh Adonai leorech yamim nasu ne'arot Adonai nasu ne'arot kolam isu ne'arot toch yam mikolot ma'im rabim. Well, like I said at the top, I felt after I stepped up to the keys that it was going to be a playful Kabbalat Shabbat, and it was. And I hope you enjoyed that as we hit a conclusion here, coming up to 10 after 6. We'll move into Ma'ariv, the evening service, in just a moment with the Baruch, the Shema, Michamocha, and of course some very, very special, special words, hopefully before Kiddush, and some other special additions to Friday night. But before, just to mark this transition as we move from Kabbalat Shabbat into Shabbat proper, we will say the Mourner's Kaddish again. And now our focus shifts. Not only are we moving to a new service, we're really moving to a new day. Liturgically, Shabbat begins with what we're about to do, and it will bring us to the 9th day of Tammuz. So, I will invite everyone to turn to page 124, for the Mourner's Kaddish, as we commemorate the Yortzites here at Congregation Shered Zedek for the 9th day in the Hebrew month of Tammuz. Esther Blankstein, Esther Bat Yitzchak, Abraham Burstein, Florence Chachanoff, Nan Halprin, Chana Bat Yisrael Leib, Jean Hoffer, Rachel Mindel, Rachel Bat Yosef Chaim, Edith Pleat, Chaya Ita Bat Binyamin Umindel, Albert Samuel Shapiro, Avraham Shmuel Ben Yaakov, Eve Renee Walensky, Shana Rivka Bat Shlomo, Percy Yaffe, Peretz Ben Herschel Vitova, Zichronam Livracha, all of blessed memory. From One More Candle for the 9th of Tammuz, we remember Celine Joel of blessed memory. And again, we honor the memory and mourn the passing of Betty Gilfix, Pesia Bat Moshe, who passed in this past week here in our Winnipeg community. May her memory be a blessing. If there's anyone with a yard site for the 9th of Tammuz and we have not called your loved one's name, if you have access to the chat, we'll give a few minutes. Please type it in. Again, for the rest of us, we are going to move to page 124 for the Mourner's Kaddish before the evening service. Mourners and those observing yard site, please rise. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye kol b'nei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye kol b'nei Yisrael, b'gala uv'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach le'alam u'amei amaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh V'hadar, v'ale v'halal, shemei dekudsha, b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, v'ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. I invite you to remain standing, or for everyone to rise. Join with us for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship, on page 50. This is where Kabbalat Shabbat gives way to the Mariv and the official beginning of Shabbat liturgically. And I invite you to answer me and call back, and let's face east and bow together. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Mevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated and let's continue on page 50. Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamidim lo chaleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai. Hamari v'aravi. Page 52. Ahavat olam bein Yisrael amchavta. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu, uvehem negei yomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha. Al tasir mimenu lolamim. Baruch atah Adonai. Ohev amo Yisrael. Let's join together. Cover our eyes on page 54. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'ayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha ulechtecha v'derech u'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha ve'ayu letodafot bein einecha uchtavtam amezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. let's take a few minutes to continue through the second and third paragraphs that make up the full Shema in the Hebrew or in the English or with your own words that you find. If you don't want to read the Shema, that would be a good replacement here. But the words of the Shema are always so worthwhile to go back to if it's been a while and to absorb them in a few moments of silent prayer. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Page 60. Emet v'emunah kol zav v'kaim le'ku Adonai Elohim. About the middle of the page, Malchuto. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe v'nei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabba ve'ameru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh nora teilot Osef elem Malchutcha ra'u v'necha Bokeyam lifnei Moshe Zeili anu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed V'nemar Ki fad Adonai Yaakov Galom yad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Page 62. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom ve'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom ve'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom ve'avidenu malkeinu l'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom ve'avidenu malkeinu l'chaim. 3 lines from the bottom. Ushmor tzeiteinu Shalom me'ata ve'ad olam Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom ve'avidenu malkeinu l'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu ve'avidenu Second line from the bottom. pores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al Yerushalayim. Amen, amen, amen. All right, everybody, let's get up. I invite you to rise, page 64. Come on, let's do Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Chatzi Kaddish before the Amidah, page 66. Yikadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma divrach irutei ve'amlich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'chayedecho beit Yisrael v'gala u'v'izman karim v'yimeru amen Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'alam u'lamei amaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yidroman v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'richu Leila min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imeru Amen. Let's take some time now for the silent Amidah. I invite you to use the Hebrew or the English or your own words of prayer. You can start on page 68, which is a more very traditional opening, including just the patriarchs, or page 69, the way we do it, and we do it every time out loud, including the imahot, the matriarchs. And again, follow it through if you're using the Siddur, or use your own words of prayer. Let's just take some time to make this Amidah count right now, and we'll get back in a few more minutes after that with a Mishaberach. Coming out of the Amidah, I wanted to make the Misha Berach for all those who are in need of refuah shlema, a recovery to a state of better health. There are people on our list who are dealing with physical problems. Some are dealing with mental health issues. They're looking for emotional recovery or spiritual recovery, whatever it is. Let's pray for them. Aviva bat Malka, Yaakov ben Sion ben Miriam, Leah bat Etel, Isabella bat Sarah, Bat-Sheva bat Sarah, Yitzchak Dov ben Bela, Moshe Aharon ben Leah, Miriam Rachel bat Leah, Chava Necha bat Sabra Ruth, Bluma Bracha bat Yita Bluma, Paltiel ben Shendel, Chazan Shefer ben Miriam, Shendel bat Miriam, Harav Avraham Yehoshua Heschel ben Ruth, Reisa bat Sarah, Gavriel ben Etel Gita, Chaya Mindel bat Surafega, Esther Leah bat Menicha, Leah bat Adel, Colin Rich, Maureen Rich, Chaim Osher ben Chaya ben Chaim Malka, Meir David ben Machlia, Rachel bat Sonia, Alfie Glass, Beryl ben Devora, Esther Bela bat Sarah, Lucy Braverman, Michael Braverman, Karen Greenberg, Georgina Tessara, Judy Itzkovich, Phyllis Hatskin, David Tzvi ben Sarah Pessel, Dina Rachel bat Sarah Esther, Yitzchak Chaim ben Sarah, Tova Yael bat Dina Rachel, Shira Naomi bat Dina Rachel, Eliezer Meir ben Tova Yael, Katriel Yosef ben Tova Yael, Yisrael Chaim ben Shir Naomi, Dave Scammell, Harav Reuven Pinchas ben Yehudit, Alukim Pesach ben Esther Pessi, Sharon bat Golda, Shoshana bat Sarah, Adrian McDonald, Frida bat Regina, Chaya Zahava bat Leah, Eliyahu Lev ben Rivka, Atara bat Etel, Shmuel Leib ben Gittel, Dana Brinley, Janice Diner bat Batsheva, Stephen Alexander Lee, Kalman Beryl, Yitzchak Moshe ben Rachel Reza, Ariel Lee, Denise Framlich, Svia bat Brana, Geraldine Boyce, Michelle Sipe, Elizabeth Glickman, and Jeff Gonick, and everyone else unnamed, because there are so many people out there who need prayers for recovery, and of course all the doctors, nurses, healthcare providers, everyone's still battling against this pandemic all over the world. We pray for everyone. For refuah shlema. Mi sheber avotenu mekor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. I want to tell you something about the Shema. We read it tonight. We do it every day, twice a day, every day. It's supposed to be the last thing you say before you go to bed. And yet, sometimes I think that there's a translation for the Shema that just doesn't work. That's in 10 pages. We're on page 80. Let's get to Kiddush. Get your Manischewitz ready. Vayechlu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzoam, vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi melachto asher asa, vayishpot bayom hashvi mikol melachto asher asa, vayavarech Elohim et yom hashvi vayekadesh oto, kivo shavad mikol melachto, kivo shavad mikol melachto, asher bara Elohim, asher bara Elohim laso. Page 82. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarai, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Agadol, Hagibor ve'Anora, El Elyon Konei Shamayim va'aretz, Magen Avod bidvaro, Mechaye Meitim b'mamaro, Ha'el HaKadosh ein kamohu ameniach le'amo, B'yom Shabbat Kodesho, Kivam Ratza le'aniach lahem, Kivam Ratza le'aniach lahem, Lefanav navod b'yirav v'fachad, V'nodeh lishmo b'chol yom tamid, Mein habrachot el hahodahot, Adon hashalom, mekadesh hashabbat, uvarech shevim, umeniach b'kedusha, lehamedu shnei oneg, zecher lemaaseh v'reishit. Page 84. Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu, ritzevim nuchateinu, kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'ten chelkeinu b'toratecha, sabeinu mituvecha, v'samcheinu b'shuatecha, v'taher, v'taher libeinu le'ovdecha v'emet, v'taher libeinu le'ovdecha v'emet, v'hanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu v'ava v'ratzon shebakodshecha, v'yanuchu b'Yisrael mekadeshei shemecha, v'taher libeinu le'ovdecha b'emet, v'taher libeinu v'taher libeinu v'taher libeinu le'ovdecha b'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Megadesh HaShabbat. Page 86, Kaddish Shalem. Yigadav Yigadav Shemei Rabbah בעלמא דברך חירותי ומלכותי בחייכון ובמכון חייך בישראל והגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא וידבר ולהביא אל שמי דקודש בריחו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן תתקבל צלון הון ובעוד הון דכל ישראל קרבם הון דשמיא ואמרו אמן יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו וכל ישראל ואמרו אמן עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. I just want to, page 90, Kiddush. Let's say a couple quick things and then a little teaching. But first, a thank you. Playful Kabbalat Shabbat, a little bit of fun, a little too much Elton John on the brain, and I appreciate everyone indulging some of my somewhat bizarre takes on Kabbalat Shabbat. Thank you, Kenny. Toda Rabbi. Pleasure to have you here. But pleasure to have all of you here. Thank you so much for inviting me in again and for bringing in Shabbat together. So special. We have a bar mitzvah tomorrow morning as part of our Shabbat morning service. A young man named Jericho Nazin, who is just terrific and has waited and waited and waited. His original date was back in December, and then we had a date in May, and we've pushed. And he's got Torah readings and a haftarah and a fabulous speech. And he was his family very involved with the family service. So there's going to be a tremendous amount of family service material. Leslie will be here with me, Leslie Emery, and we'll be doing a lot of the family service versions. It's going to be a very nice morning. It starts at 10 o'clock Winnipeg time, goes to about 12:30 with the bar mitzvah these days. And it's going to be great. So I want you to join us for that if you are interested, if you're keen. It's going to be a fabulous service. Parsha tomorrow is Chukat. Chukat. And a little bit of a weird one with the triennial cycle and everything. Tomorrow we read kind of the beginning of Chukat and the special red heifer, the Para Aduma, and a few of the trials of Bnei Israel in the wilderness. So all of that tomorrow, Shabbat Parshat Chukat, starting at 10. If you have a yortzeit for the 9th of Tammuz, there will be a service tomorrow at 6, Shabbat Mincha with Leslie Emery. And then during the week, I guess on Sunday, 9 o'clock in the morning for Shacharit, 6 o'clock for Mincha Mariv. During the week, 7:30 a.m. for our Shacharit, 6 p.m. for our Mincha Mariv, and then Kabbalat Shabbat, 5:30. Next Kabbalat Shabbat, next week, next Kabbalat Shabbat is my last Kabbalat Shabbat. So that's why I had to get out some of the goofiness today so that we can have a proper Kabbalat Shabbat and a farewell Kabbalat Shabbat, I guess, if you will, next week, which will be a real treat. I'm looking forward to that. So please mark the date, June 25th, 2021, the 15th turning into the 16th of Tammuz at 5:30 p.m. on the Winnipeg time. So that's that. This one was my penultimate, great word. That's just a fancy way of saying second last. Next week will be the ultimate. That's what we should call it, the ultimate Kabbalat Shabbat. The ultimate Kabbalat with keys, with Rabbi Matt. Can't believe I didn't find a chance to do that earlier in the service. So the Shema. I don't want to keep you much longer. The Shema. The Shema is just a perfect example of how just a few words out of the Torah can be unpacked with so much material. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. It is often translated as, "Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one." In a religion and a tradition and a history and a culture and a community and a people that is often so difficult to distill into one or two thoughts. One of the stories often told is the Hillel story, Do not, everything that is harmful to you, do not do unto others. The rest is commentary, go study. That's one way of kind of distilling the Torah and Judaism. But another way is really kind of the Shema, right? At least an ethical monotheism or a monotheism at its time, so rare. And the Shema has stood the test of time as being one of these pillars, one of these lines that we go to. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. There's a tradition, especially in Orthodox communities, that they teach young children the Shema as the first thing they learn in Hebrew. I myself remember learning that melody very, very early in Hebrew school. And the Shema is very important, right? These words, I mean, in that paragraph alone, there's the mitzvah for the mezuzah, there's the mitzvah for the tefillin, there's the mitzvah to teach children these words, there's the mitzvah to say these words whenever we get up and whenever we go to bed. Cornerstone stuff. And yet, I've been thinking this week a lot about the fact that we often translate it as "Hear, O Israel," Shema, hear. And it's not how I would translate it. In fact, from time to time on Shabbat mornings, if you've been with us, we do an all-English, well, pretty much all-English version written by a fellow named Douglas Kotler that was originally written for Kol Nidre, where it's done almost all in English. And the translation, the piece is called "Listen," not "Hear." And whenever I teach students what is the Shema, I would say it was Moses telling this group of 2 million people getting ready to enter into the land, Shema Yisrael, listen up, people. Hear, no one says that. Hear what I'm saying? Listen up. The difference between listening and hearing. Hearing is passive. You hear a car alarm go off. You hear an ambulance go down the street. You hear the wind rustling through the trees and the branches knocking on your house if your neighbor's tree hangs over and touches your house on windy days like mine does. You hear birds and these things, they're all kind of in the, right, that you hear them. But hearing is passive. Listening is active. We should really never translate the Shema as "Hear, O Israel." We should only ever translate it as "Listen up, Israel. Adonai is our God, Adonai is one." Because listening is active. Hearing is passive, but listening is active. When you listen, when you really listen, and I know this because I used to be a bad listener. I've always been a good talker. But one of the best pieces of advice I ever got in my life when I was a young radio host in talk radio was, the best radio hosts are better listeners than they are talkers. Because you think you've got all this time to fill, talk. Dead air is bad. When I started listening attentively, actively, I got better at talking. Because then it becomes a conversation. Listening, hearing involves your ears. And I know there's brain stuff going on too. But for the point we're trying to make here, hearing involves your ears, but listening involves your ears and your brain. Listening is about hearing something, taking it in, and then doing something with that. It's not enough just to hear people say to you, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. What do you do with that? That's why the Douglas Kotler piece is called "Listen." Listen to your God. Listening sometimes requires a little bit of work. Quite often everything is out there, but listening involves reading body language. Listening involves looking at subtext. Listening involves paying attention. Listening involves paying attention to what isn't said. Listening is active. And the Shema, the cornerstone, one of the cornerstones of Judaism, should remind us all the time, every day, when we do it twice a day, that it's about listening. It's about listening to the people in our lives, the people in our families, our friends, the people we work with. Anybody can hear, but listening is actually a skill. Listening is hearing something, taking it in, and then doing something about it. Judaism is all about action, right? A religion of deed more than a religion of faith. right? It's all about mitzvot. It's all about doing and doing and doing and doing. That's why when we say remember, it's not just about thinking about a person or thinking about an event. It's thinking about an event and then turning it into action, giving tzedakah, doing something to change our lives with the memory of that person. Remembering is active. Listening is active. Listening leads to learning. And not listening means not learning. And we all want to learn, right? We're not all so proud and arrogant to think that we've got it all figured out. Even those of us who may actually have it all figured out. There's always a chance to get better. So, to listening and learning. Listen up, Israel. Shema Yisrael. Please rise for Kiddush, page 90. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kichanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'avav ratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'asev reshit, ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh, zecher litziad Mitzrayim, ki vanu vacharta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim. V'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Amen. L'chaim, l'chaim tovim u'shalom. Oh, how sweet it is. Oh, sorry that it went a little long. Let's get out of here. Thanks, everybody. You know what, Miriam Siegel, to your comment, I saw Elton twice. He was so much older. I mean, a product of the time, right? The time to see Elton John would have probably been, I mean, gosh, could you imagine seeing him in the 70s? I don't know if you saw him in the 70s. That would have been insane. I saw him twice. Once he was really old, and he was a lot older. You know, he's singing everything a lot lower. He admits that. His voice has changed. He's such a fascinating guy, fascinating story. The second time he performed, he was very good. The first time he performed, he was very, very poor. It looked like he was going through the motions. But, you know, it's like seeing those figures way past their prime is, I got very mixed feelings about it. I've never seen Dylan. I'll never see Dylan. I saw Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. I've seen Neil Young a couple times. He's one of the worst concerts I've ever been to, and I love Neil Young. So I would have, when I get my time machine, when I leave after the end of the month, one of the things I'm going to be putting my time into is building a time machine, and then when I do that, I will go back and I will check out. I will check out Elton John circa 1974. Maybe. What am I talking about? Page 118. Let's stay standing for Aleinu. Stay upstanding, as my friend Shelley likes to say. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latet gedula liotzer breishit shelo asanu gegoyei haratzon velo samanu kemishbechot Adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem v'goraleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Mitachad Einod, page 120. Al ken nekabbalat. 'Adonai Eloheinu l'Rabbi. 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 Kakatu betordech naimoch leolam va'ed. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad. Ushemo echad. Ushemo echad. Trying to remember still standing after what Rocky wrote. So many nice messages on the chat. Thank you, everybody. They're all great. An Elton John themed Kabbalat Shabbat. Wow. So let's bring it down and close with Mourner's Kaddish. It was a really fun evening. Thank you, everyone, again. However you spend your Shabbat, wherever you spend it, with whomever you're able to spend it, make it a good one, a restful one, a peaceful one with music, maybe some Elton music, one with study, and one with family, and we'll see you again next week. Or before then. Page 124, we conclude with Mourner's Kaddish. I invite everyone to remain standing and to join me in these words as we are mindful of everyone, all the souls out there who have no one to say Kaddish for them. So let's say it for them, together, as a community. And thanks again, everyone, tonight. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ulamei almaya. Yiparach v'ishtabach v'par v'traman v'itnaseh, v'yidadar v'yitalev v'yidalal shmei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'miran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for a very fun night. Made my week. Really appreciate it. Shabbat shalom to all of you. And remember, let your friends know next week the ultimate Kabbalat with keys. Until then, take care.